Welcome to It's Getting Better All the Time Mental Health Outreach with your hosts Arnetta Legree and missionary Corinne Kelly. It's Getting Better All the Time Mental Health Outreach is a faith-based organization designed to provide information and support while encouraging hope and faith. On today's broadcast, we will be talking about acceptance. This is actually the third part in a three-part message concerning this topic. Missionary Kelly?
Yeah, hello, and right now as she said, we're talking about acceptance, and I'm coming to understand that we need to recognize those things which we need to accept and those things that we can work on changing. But we can't work on any changes or bettering something until we recognize and accept this is where it is,
right,
and then move on. If and I can be in denial and never be able to go forward. But acceptance is the first step in being able to go forward.
Because when we can accept what is going on, that actually brings us strength. Because that means we are being honest,
Absolutely.
We're not hiding, whether it's a mental illness or other long-term situation. When we come to grips with what is, then we can really move forward.
That's right.
In reality, move forward in life. Let's finish up talking about some barriers or emotions that prevent us from acceptance.
Okay, such as negative thoughts, negative feelings, tunnel vision. You know, I see this, tunnel vision. You have no other focus except for that.
Right.
You know, you can't get beyond that point.
Right.
You know, like you almost put a person in a rut.
Right. And when you talk about the negative thoughts, sometimes what keeps us from accepting is the fact I'm thinking I should have better. I'm thinking this should not have happened to me. You know, I may have a child who I thought was going to go on to college to become a lawyer, and now this child has a mental illness.
Right.
And I can't accept the fact that this child has a mental illness and that this child may not go on to college. So what some people do, they put a lot of pressure on the child without even realizing it. Sometimes the child knows better than the parent what their limitations are. And you know, when we hear the word limitations, that doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's just understanding that, okay, these are the parameters in which I can work with. It just means that, okay, no, maybe I won't grow up to be president, but maybe I can do this.
Right. So what you're saying is I might be limited in A, but I'm not necessarily limited in B.
Exactly.
And if I can work on and enhance B, it will overcome A.
Right.
You know, A might be one point, but it doesn't mean that I can't go forward.
Right.
I just can't go forward over here.
Right.
May have to take a little detour.
Right, exactly. I may get there a little slower.
That's right.
And
But the goal is to get there.
Right, right. But if I hold on to these unrealistic expectations or have these feelings and thoughts, you know, sometimes we like throw a temper tantrum. I know a lot of times we talk with people, let's say, who may have a faith-based perspective, and they're believing for Jesus Christ to heal them, and they want it to be this way. And I always tell people we have to understand that yes, God does heal, but the healing is subject to His timing and His will.
Absolutely. Not only that, many times because people are waiting for God to heal, they won't do anything else.
Right, right.
You know, I'm waiting here. God gonna work it out. He gonna heal me in one of these days, and I'm sitting there getting worse because first of all, I have not accepted. Yes, this is who I am. Yes, God is the healer. Yes, it is in His time, and yes, truthfully, we say we trust Him. But if I trust Him, then why can't I trust Him
Right.
to move me from where I am to the next point, to do what's necessary? Now, I'll use this as an example. If you got someone that has, let's say, diabetes, and the doctors have said, well, if you change your eating habits, oh no, God gonna heal me. I know God gonna heal me, and I keep eating, keep doing the same things I was doing, keep eating all the carbohydrates, and He says, well, get up and take some walks, and I don't need to do that. I'm waiting on God.
Yeah.
Right? Then I really don't trust God.
Right. I want it my way. I want to do it the way I want.
Right. You talk about the temper tantrum, and many times we think of temper tantrums, we think of children. Okay, but if I didn't overcome having temper tantrums as a child, I'm going to grow up and still have temper tantrums. They'll just be different. I won't be laying out on the floor kicking and carrying on, but I'll still be having a temper tantrum.
Right. And acceptance doesn't mean that you give up.
Absolutely.
You know, because a lot of times, you know, when people give up, they're like you said, they don't do anything else. They believe all is hopeless. But when we can accept what is going on, come to grips with reality, that's where our strength is. And we can see that things are not hopeless.
And we even talk about illness, and I want to insert this because we're living at a time where we're losing a lot of our young people.
Yeah.
And it's hard to have lost a loved one, period, okay? And some people have lost them years ago, and they haven't let go yet. They haven't accepted that this actually did happen. And part of acceptance is being able to forgive the one that did whatever, forgive the person that has left you, okay? So because these things have not done, they're sitting there and they're still holding on to what used to be, and if they were still here, we would be doing this, and maybe if we whatever. But the fact remains, and I'm not discounting, I don't want to sound hard about it, but until we get to that point, and I can even say that, you know, I think I've shared with you many times that when my mom passed, and I was sitting there one day, and I said, I wish you were here. And the Spirit of the Lord just energized me. The question was, did you want her here the way she was? So my reason for wanting her here at that time was for myself. Right. It wasn't necessarily for her. But I've got good memories, and I can accept that she's gone, accept the fact that we loved each other and we enjoyed one another, and I can move on. Yeah. You know, realize that the way she was, no, we did not. She'd have been just laying there. She was sick, you know? So when someone has lost someone, and yes, some of them have had a plan, had a productive life, and looked like they had a great future going for them, but the fact remains that we have to be real and honest. It's not there. And allow God's grace to be sufficient, because he said he's made perfect in weakness. Right? So I'm weak at this point, Lord. This was my loved one. I don't want to let him go. But you need to be able to move forward.
And again, you know, whether it's a mental illness, like you said, or the death of a loved one, or other negative situation, I like what you said. You know, you brought up the point how God said his strength is made perfect in our weaknesses. And when we can come to God and honestly and say, this is what is going on with us, all of those negative emotions that's holding us back, you know, it's okay to go to God and say, you know, I'm angry, I'm upset about this, you know, I'm angry, you know, I'm going to have to take care of my child the rest of their life and my life too. And it's okay to do that, rather than hiding behind your feelings and pretending not to be angry. Because when we can be honest, then that's where the healing can begin to come in.
Definitely.
And again, going back to acceptance. You know, we're not talking about giving up. Acceptance is not the same thing as giving up. Acceptance is coming to grips with what is, and then building on that.
That's right.
You know, if I lost a limb, at some point it's going to be difficult. But at some point, I'm going to have to accept the fact that I'm missing a limb. And once I can realize that this limb is missing, it's not coming back, then I can begin to move forward.
Right, so learn how to compensate for what's not there, and be able to use better that which you already have.
Right. Because a lot of these negative feelings or barriers that keep us from accepting, they hold us back. They keep us back from living or hold us back from living because we're stuck in a little box. You know, you talk about negative thoughts and feelings. Thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, again, like we say all the time, go together.
That's right.
You know? And if I'm angry, if I'm guilty, or I'm upset about something, and you know, and the guilt is a big one. Going back to family members, especially who have a loved one. You know, a lot of times you feel guilty. Being the parent, you wonder, wow, what did I do? Was there something I should have said or I didn't do, etc., etc. But we want parents to know that it's not your fault.
Right. And I'll insert this here. I remember, and I guess you hear me always say, I can use an experience of my life, and I thank God for all the experiences I've had. Now, no, I haven't always been there. There was a time when I could not have said that. But I'm grateful
But it was
to
a
God.
process for you.
Yes, definitely. And I remember I had a child that was premature, and she went through a lot, and I remember someone asking me, well, go to God and find out what it was that you did to cause this. And I kept praying, and God never gave me any answers. And I'm wondering, okay, God, well, what's wrong? Well, I'm not even getting an answer for this, okay? And finally, years and years down the line, the Lord used a precious minister to tell me that it was nothing that I did, but it was for the glory of God. And I can see the glory of God in my child's life today. So, and even in the occasion in the Bible, when the man was blind, and they asked the parents, which one of you, or whose fault is this, basically, and it said there was no one's, but he let him know it was for the glory of God. So I want to encourage you that in whatever it is, that God can get the glory, He can get the honor, He can get the strength out of it, that you can have compassion and know how to help somebody else and let someone else know that yes, you can make it through this also. But I have to do the first thing, acceptance.
And another thing that holds us back is the embarrassment. Sometimes we do not want to be embarrassed. You know, we don't want people to know, again, going back to the family member situation, I don't want people to know that my child has a mental illness, or I don't want people to know that I have a mental illness. You know, a lot of times, I see this a lot with people who have to take medications. They don't want anyone to know that they need to take medications, so they're embarrassed and they don't take them. And then they wind up hurting themselves. So again, this is another barrier to acceptance. Because when you can come to the realization that yes, I do have to take medications, and that these medications are important for me to live, then you can go on.
And not only that, even with the one that has the loved one, you know, they themselves can be embarrassed, as you said before.
I don't want anybody to know.
Right. And so they don't do anything with them. They avoid even the loved one. They find a way to not to have to take the loved one with them to do things, you know. And for those of us that may not be a loved one, maybe someone that you know, you don't want anyone to know that you associated with such a person, okay? But how dare we? And that sounds, you know, very straight and to the point. But God made all of us, and He knows why He allowed. And so it lets me know that we really don't trust Him like we should, because if God allowed this, then He has a purpose in it. Am I willing to come to the point, to the grips of finding out what His purpose is for this in the first place?
And once we can get into that acceptance process, then we can do that, like you said. You know, we can come to grips, we can pray and ask God, what is going on? What's the reasoning for this?
That's right.
But if we hold on to those negative emotions, and a lot of times when we look at the negative thoughts, negative feelings, or the embarrassment, it's really all about us.
Yes.
You know, I don't want to take my loved one out because I don't want to be embarrassed. A lot of times we put the blame off on our loved one. Well, he or she, they might have symptoms. And that may be true. But is it really the loved one I'm trying to protect, or is it me?
No, I'm trying to protect my pride.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
You know, it's exactly what it is. You know, so one of the others was negative self-esteem.
Right.
And in this, you know, things happen, and then all of a sudden we begin to feel like, well, you know, I can't do any better. You could convince yourselves, you know, that, well, this is all I'll ever be, this is all I'll ever be able to do, and not give this self an opportunity to even find out. And I say this many times, but God Himself said that we're precious in His sight. He said we're fearfully and wonderfully made. So if He sees us as fearfully, wonderfully made, I need to come to the place of seeing myself the way God sees me.
But again, a lot of times negative thoughts and emotions hold us back. And we can't expect to think negatively all the time and then think that we're going to act in positive ways. It's just not going to work. Thoughts, feelings, and behaviors go together. You know, I can quote scriptures that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, but my behavior will show if I really believe that or not. You know, again, it's one thing to quote scriptures. It's another thing for those scriptures to become a part of who you are.
That's right. And that takes time. It takes practice. It takes endurance. It takes persistence. Some consistency.
Right, right. And it takes coming to an acceptance. Because once I begin to see, by letting go, again, acceptance in a sense is letting go. Letting go of my expectations. Letting go of the fact that, well, no, my child may not go to Harvard. Letting go of the expectation that I thought I was going to get a 6-figure income job and da-da-da-da, and then now I had a psychiatric breakdown, and it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Because once we, again, begin to let go of those unrealistic expectations, if they are in fact unrealistic, we can begin to build.
You know, it's interesting. We accept detours in the road. Okay? We accept that there's curves in this street it's a winding road that I'm on. But when it comes to us as individuals in our lives, we don't want any detours. We don't want any curves. We want it straight and narrow, my way or no way. And that no way is what gets us in trouble.
Yeah, yeah. And again, like, you know, we're not saying that it's easy, because acceptance is a process. You know, some people may be able to accept things easier than others, but for all of us, it's a process. It's going to take some time.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and you didn't get where you are overnight, so we can't expect an overnight change.
Right, right.
It's going to take time. It's going to take evaluation. It's going to take recognizing. In acceptance, you recognize what's there, and okay, and then you may have to sit down and take a piece of paper and a pencil and put down those things that are in the situation that you're in, and find out what things in it that you can change, and what things that you cannot change, and deal with those. Those that you can't change is what we're talking about, where the acceptance really comes in at. Those that you can't change, then you need a strategy,
right,
how to begin to change those things. Because I can sit here again, not just quoting scriptures all day long. One day I'm going to do better. One day I'm going to do better. One day I'm going to do better.
And weeks pass.
One day I'm going to do better.
A month has passed.
One day I'm
a
gonna
year
do better.
has passed.
One day I'm going to do better. And better never comes.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it's going to take doing, working. You know, faith without works is dead.
And one of the reasons why we do this program, we know that everyone listening to us has a God-given purpose for living. Everyone has a gift. You may not know what your gift is at this moment, but everyone has a gift. And what we try to do each week is to take a look at some of these things that can prevent us from moving forward. Because you are more powerful than you think.
That's right.
You know, there is more in you than you even realize. And just because you have an illness, whether it's a mental illness or any other type of illness or a negative situation, you can overcome.
That's right.
That doesn't mean that the illness or negative situation may go away. In fact, it may still be there.
That's right.
Because a lot of times when we talk about severe and persistent mental illness, especially schizophrenia and bipolar and major depression, the symptoms may go up and down, but the illness still is there.
That's right.
But you can learn to move forward. You can learn to do things differently. You know, like you said, you know, just one day at a time.
That's right.
You know, talking to people, support system. You know, you were talking about writing things down for our strategy. Your strategy may be having support system, somebody you can talk to, going to a group or going to a program.
That's right.
Getting involved in your community, getting involved in your church. You know, so there are a lot of different strategies that we can use so that we can take our mind off of us and begin to see that there is hope.
That's right. That's right.
Because if all I do is focus on my negative situation, my negative problems, then I can become hopeless. And hopelessness, that feeling is really a bad feeling because it can open the door to so many other negative emotions and feelings.
That's right, it sure does. That's right, to the point of, you know, not just the you said the feeling of it, and you begin to get the nervousness, and it can bring on hopelessness, can come to a point where it actually bring on illnesses in the body, along with those feelings. You know, lack of sleep and different other things that goes along with it, you know, worry, fear.
Right.
It brings in a lot of negative things. So.
Well, like I said, this is coming to an end at this point for this broadcast, talking about acceptance. And Commissioner Kelly, you want to?
You know, yes, you can overcome whatever it is that you're going through in your life. No, cannot always do it by yourself. There is a part for you to play, but you know, be willing to step out of your comfort zone and get the help that you need. Want to take someone that may be going through with a severe and persistent mental illness, you may need to make a phone call because you realize that you can't do this by yourself. But as we said before, come to the place of acceptance, and then from the acceptance, make some goals for yourself that you can move forward. If you need help, great. Get the help that you need. You say, I don't know which way to go. In the beginning, we did give some phone numbers, and you can also go to our website, www.igbatt.com, and check it out so that you can get some resources that you can move forward. You're precious to the Lord, and He does have a purpose, and for your life, a destiny set, but you can't get there until you do first things first. So get moving and stay encouraged and be strong. This is getting better all the time, Mental Health Outreach.